Say hi, Mr. Squiggles. Say hi. Alright, well, I guess that'll do. Just a little disclaimer, this whole video is kind of funky. I have my window open and it's very windy today. So just like close your eyes and pretend you're like at the ocean. Those are like the waves. Or just pretend you're in a forest and those are the trees moving around in the wind and you're listening to this video by a campfire. I don't know. Also, subscribe. Subscribe if you want to see more. Here's the thing. I have been watching a lot of story times by somebody. I'm not at discretion to say who. So I I'm not a YouTuber at all. I am a singer and a songwriter. However, I have had this overwhelming feeling lately that I need to start a YouTube channel because there's so many YouTubers that I love. I'm so tired of waiting to have someone open a door for me. I just want to kick down my own door and live the life that I always dreamed of. So if no one's going to open a door for me, I'm going to make my own door. The real reason I want to make a YouTube channel is because I have a lot to say and I have a lot to share. I feel selfish, especially having so many stories that are crazy and not believable at all. And I just want to share them because I feel bad keeping them all to myself. So today I'm going to be sharing the story of how I met my foreign fiance. Let's start from the very, very, very beginning. Through various trials and tribulations in relationships, I went on a journey to further discover God and further discover myself. I started attending Impact Church, Arizona, shout out, best church, just the best church, and I pray to find another one like it, but I won't because there is no other church like it. It's just facts. So I fell in love with this church. Like I went to a couple other churches before in my life, and they just didn't set in my soul like this one did. For some reason, this church just struck me because it explained God in a way that I never considered, I guess. Because a lot of churches will shame you and judge you. And I'm not saying that other churches I went to before did that, but like there was just something about Impact Church that just made me feel so loved. And not only that, but made me understand God's love. And I always believed in Jesus, but I never really knew who he was until I started going to this church, I guess. So during this time that I was trying to rebuild myself, I started reading again, and I hadn't really been reading since I was like in high school. Like I never really liked reading. I mean, I do enjoy it, but I get bored really easily. So whatever I'm reading has to be relatable to me or just really interesting. I was reading this one book, and I think it was called Wild and Free. I don't remember the author. I have it over on my shelf, but I'm lazy and, it's a Christian book by two female authors, and they kind of share their different views of what it means to be a woman walking with God and how to truly live wild and free. This one part, this girl talks about how she went on a mission trip and it changed her life. And that inspired me because mission trips, the idea of them always scared me. It was never something that I wanted to do. But just the way that she worded it, it just struck me in a way. And I was so ready to try something new that I became open to the idea of going on a mission trip. And I was like, okay, my church goes on mission trips all the time. The next one they do, like, I'm gonna go. I remember like a week or two later, my pastor had an entire sermon about the mission trips they've been on to Africa, to Nicaragua. They showed some clips from their experiences there and just like really heart-wrenching videos about helping people and about how this country is so fortunate. We are blessed because we are meant to bless others. So I was really struck when he gave that sermon, and I already knew in my heart that I wanted to go, and he hadn't even asked if anyone wanted to go on a mission trip yet. I thought he was gonna say like they were gonna do a mission trip to Africa or something, and I was gonna like immediately sign up. And I think he was just instilling the idea into people that like we need to be aware that there are people in this world outside of ourselves that need our help. At the end of that service, I was so struck, and in my soul I was screaming like, yes, 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 pick me, yes, 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 I want to go, yes, 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 ask me to go, I want to go, please let me go, dear Lord, please have a mask so I can go. But he didn't end up asking anyone to go on a mission trip. A few months went by, and they announced that they were having mission trips to the country of Nicaragua. And I didn't know anything about Nicaragua. I didn't even really know where it was. Apparently, none of my friends did either when I explained to them that I went. A lot of my friends think that I went to Guatemala. No matter how many times I say, like, no, I went Nicaragua. It's, it's fine. Immediately signed up to go on this mission trip. I was so determined. I felt so ready. I signed up. I can't remember. I think I had a conversation with his name is Pastor Randy. He called me when I was walking around the mall one day, kind of like a phone interview, just to see if you're like a potential candidate for a mission trip, because some people really just want to go for themselves. They just want to be a tourist in another country and like don't really have an intention to help other people. So he just wanted to make sure that I had good intentions, and I did. But then we started discussing the payments, and it was a bit unrealistic for me. I didn't have $2,000. They wanted $1,000 at the end of January or February. This was 2017, February or January. And unfortunately, I was technically approved for the mission trip, except I didn't have the financial requirements. I couldn't get $1,000 by the end of January. That kind of broke my heart, because I really wanted to go. I just wanted to help people and serve in the family of God in some way, and I felt like going to another country was just so impactful. I wanted to be a part of that impact, you know? So I didn't go on that mission trip. I was really bummed. And then they announced that they were going to be doing another one the next year around the same time, and this one was $700 cheaper. And I know it sounds like a ridiculous amount of money for a church to be asking for $2,000 to go on a mission trip, but it's like they're building homes, they're feeding people, like they have to pay for your plane ticket. It's like almost $1,000 to fly to Nicaragua, and then to stay in the hotel, the food, like all the other things that we did. Like that money is going towards a good use. So yeah, so like the next year came, and I applied again. And this time I spoke with a girl. Her name was Stephanie. We had a really good phone conversation. I remember standing by the lake in my house, just having a conversation with her about helping people and just showing her that I had good intentions to be on this trip. And I remember looking out in this lake and just really just praising God the whole moment. Like I was just so happy to even have the opportunity. She approved me. She could see that I had good intentions, and because this mission trip was cheaper, I actually could afford it. But it got kind of scary because I think I started a GoFundMe. No one really put money towards it, except I had a couple family members. Like one family member put like $100, and I was still short like $200 for the trip. I guess my mom's boyfriend was really excited that I was going to do it, so he actually ended up giving me the last $200 that I needed, which was crazy because I really almost missed the deadline. Like I got that $200 like right in time. I was so happy. I finally put all my money towards it and gave it to the church, and I was like all ready to go. Except one thing. I needed my passport. I never gotten a passport before. Up to this point, I'd been to Mexico several times, but Trump wasn't like president yet, so like it didn't really matter that much that you didn't have a passport. If you're an American, like I had an ID, I had my social security card. Sometimes I would get harassed at the border, like, you're supposed to have your passport. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't. So it wasn't really a problem, honestly. Hence probably why Border Patrol is getting stricter. But anyway, I was really, really, really close to the deadline of like needing my passport. And usually passports take like, I don't know, a few weeks, few months. I actually don't know because I got mine really fast. I had to have it expedited through this site called Rapid Visa. Rapid Visa expedited it to me. I think I got it within 2 weeks of like filing. It was such a pain. I swear to God. Most things that I try to do that are like official always like so much harder than it should be for regular people. Like I don't know. For some reason, like it's always, this might sound weird, but it, to me, it feels like God wants me to prove that I really, really want this thing. Or like, I've just learned a lot of lessons and stuff like that too. Like, if something's really, really difficult and you can overcome it, you will take that feeling with you through other things that are like not related to paperwork. You know, just like life struggles. But anyway, my passport was really difficult, so I got it expedited. And then I remember going to the post office to get my passport photo taken, file some documents. I needed a flight itinerary, and I didn't have it. I was trying to print out papers that day. It was just really difficult for some reason. I didn't have a printer at home. I think I had to go to the post office to leave, go print something somehow, flight itinerary, come back, like the whole process again of like them looking over my papers, my documents, taking my passport photo. I finally set all my papers out. It was going to take like a week, 10 days to actually get my passport. And I kept getting calls and texts from my pastor like, hey, like, we need your passport number for the flight. We can't wait. Like, it's literally, we were leaving in 2 weeks at this point. I finally got my passport. It was the day of the flight. We were going to Nicaragua. And originally the team had agreed that we should meet at the airport at like 9:30. I think our flight was at like 10:30 or something. During one of our meetings before the actual mission trip, they did say that it would probably be best if we meet earlier. I just didn't really think it was a big deal because originally they were like, "Oh, like meet at 9:30, it's okay." And then they changed it to 9. I ended up sleeping like an extra like 20, 30 minutes or something because I was just so tired. Because I had all my stuff packed, like I was ready. I just needed to stop at the grocery store and like get some snacks for the trip. Like it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't worried about it. The morning of comes and like I'm already running late, obviously because I woke up late. Pastor Randy's asking me like, "Hey, where you at? Like you're supposed to be here by now." I'm on my way. I'm sorry. My brother came to pick me up. I still had to stop at the store for snacks, so I did that. Made it as quick as possible. I was on my way. There was a lot of traffic because it was the morning time on a weekday. I got to the airport super late, like 9:45. Pastor Randy met me at the front of the airport. Check in. He helped me scan my passport and he was like, "All right, I'll meet you at the gate." At this time of the day, the airport terminal got crazy busy. I was in line for I don't know, like 20, 30 minutes. It was like the flight was like about to board and I was freaking out. And so I finally went through TSA, stopped me, and put my bags aside because I had a water bottle. I don't fly that much. Like, I didn't know that you're not allowed to have a water bottle on the plane. I know it's probably sounds stupid, but I don't fly that much. Like, I don't know. So they pulled me aside, and that was taking more time. And I was like getting really stressed out. Like, I wasn't being like angry or like mean or anything because they're just doing their job. But I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, can we move this along, please? Because my flight's like about to board. So they finally let me through security, and I literally ran to the gate. The minute that I got there, they started boarding. And my pastor was so happy. He was like, "Actually made it on time. Can't believe it." And I couldn't believe it. So we boarded the flight, and I get really bad anxiety flying. Really, 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 really bad anxiety. Don't care for flying. If it was up to me, I would walk everywhere. But I can't do that, especially if you're going to another country and across seas and 3,000 miles away. I don't know how long it would take to walk 3,000 miles. You know I'd walk 1,000 miles just so I see you. I get on the plane, my eyes close. I'm just really dreading that moment of the plane taking off from nothing to like, and that goes like all the way up in the sky, and you're like leaning back on the seat because the plane's like going almost vertical. I just don't like that feeling at all. It scares me to death. And I know plane crashes are very rare, but they still happen. And my anxiety is not rare. So anyway, I told this girl Marissa behind me that I was nervous from flying. She handed me a paper that had all these Bible verses on it, and I just started reading them, and they really calmed my spirit. We finally landed in Nicaragua. I went through security. We walked to the front of the airport where everyone's greeting people. This guy, Alvaro, he's a church pastor now, but he wasn't a church pastor at the time. But he helps us organize like our teams and our activities and what we do when we go to Nicaragua to help for the missions and stuff. Like he's kind of our guide, and he's a really close family friend of the church. Let me back up. Let me just say the mission was almost canceled. 2 weeks before we were supposed to leave, riots started breaking out in Nicaragua because there was political unrest. People were and still are very unhappy with their president, Daniel Ortega. He doesn't really seem to care for the country. People are outraged. He's overstayed his term. People don't want him to be their leader anymore, especially young people. A lot of riots. And there were students that were protesting that were getting shot just for protesting. The whole mission team's families were scared. My family was freaking out, and they were saying, "You are crazy if you go on this trip right now. If you go on this trip, you are going to die." My grandma even ended up calling my pastor and like yelling at him. I'll have a whole separate story time just for my grandma. She's a riot. My family was telling me I was so stupid for wanting to go. And, you know, because my church has ties with Alvaro lives there, so he said, "You guys are going to be fine if you go. I would not tell you to come if it was going to be unsafe for you." We went. And everyone thought we were stupid. Like, all of our families were probably praying for us the entire time. I know my family was. And I'm sure everyone else's was too, because that whole time we were in Nicaragua, like, we felt so protected. Like, at no point did I feel threatened or scared, which is just the craziest thing. And God just wanted us to be there. I don't know how else to explain it, because we really shouldn't have gone. There were a lot of other mission teams that were supposed to go out to Nicaragua that week, and they didn't because it was too dangerous. But for whatever reason, our mission team had God's favor over our lives. So anyway, so he and like his team met us at the front of the airport. He got on this bus, and immediately I have like culture shock, because I look to the right of us and there's this weird, it just kind of looks like a giant shed. Military men with like AK-47s or something. I don't know anything about guns, but it looked like an AK-47. So we're on the bus, I'm sitting in the aisle and just looking through the window just at the different view, just noticing obviously how different Nicaragua is from America. It kind of reminded me of Mexico, just feeling kind of strange because we're in this foreign place. I really didn't know anybody on the mission trip. That was probably the scariest part. I wasn't like friends with anyone on the mission trip. Like, I had spoken with my pastor several times about the mission. I wasn't really connected with my church because I just wasn't. Not that I didn't want it to be, it just never really worked out for me to be like involved in the Bible studies and stuff. I'm the youngest person there. Everyone else is like, most of them are like a few years older than me, or most of them are like 10 years or more. So I was really nervous for that reason, because going to another country to help people that you've never met with people that you've never met, it was scary. It was really scary. I just felt so overwhelmed by God's calling for me to do this. Why else would I do this, you know? Because I'm the most nervous person you'll ever meet. If I ignore you in public, it's not because I don't want to talk to you. It's because I'm a really, really nervous person. I've just kind of always been that way. It's so crazy because I love people. I love talking to people. I feel comfortable talking to people. Putting myself out there, I guess, that makes me really scared for some reason. I digress. We get to the hotel we're staying at, and everyone's waiting in the garage of the hotel. Not a typical hotel, maybe 8 rooms, and in the rooms there were bunk beds, so we separated the rooms like kind of based on age. Let me just say, everyone, every single person on this mission trip, I mean, they are the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I've never felt more like I was where I belonged, and every single person on this mission trip became part of my family. I'll feel it, like, there was something about the trip. Like, there's just an energy around us, like, and You know, we had pastors say to us before that this is the most connected mission team that we've had so far. Like, it was like we all knew each other for like years and years. And the best part was, like, we were all like, I felt like I was gonna have to put on this, like, I'm a super Christian persona and, like, don't do anything wrong and don't say anything bad. Like, make sure you just hold yourself, like, really well and, like, just be perfect. Everyone was just themselves, you know? They didn't feel like there was this overwhelming religious pressure to be somebody or not. Like, we were all just who we are. And it was so crazy because we're all so different. Okay, I didn't film an outro for this because I didn't know I was going to be doing this in 2 parts, but as I'm editing, I'm like, I can't have this first video be 3 hours long. So this was part 1, and look forward to part 2 probably later this week. Look forward to hearing what you guys think. And if you have ever been to Nicaragua or you've been on a mission trip and you want to share your story, I'm super, super excited to hear. And yeah, peace and love, guys. Hit me, come on, little darling.